Hello, I'm Dow Bartling, and I certainly hope that you and yours are continuing to have a brighter summer day. Well, the older I am, the more that I think. And I do think that we're getting that time of the year in which then we get Friday night lights. Friday night lights. And then we get the stupendous Saturdays. Yes, we do. And don't forget Super Sundays. Well, of course, I'm speaking of football. Indeed. Can you remember your high school games that you went to and how you had the competing teams, but the students were there? The grandfathers were there, the grandmothers, the parents, everyone was there. Friday night lights. And then we got college games and the rivalry there that exists, whether that be for my generation of Oklahoma, Nebraska. Boy, those were quite the games. And then we move up the scale to Sunday games. Now, I'm speaking of football, but I'm not going to speak of players. Yes, I could be speaking of Lenny Dawson, or Otis Taylor, or Mike Garrett, or someone by the name of Mr. Mahomes, or Mr. Kelsey, either one of them. But I'm not going to speak of players. I'm going to speak of a term, and maybe you heard of it, the 12th man. Have you heard of the phrase, the 12th man? If the 12th man had a name, I would give him the name of Barnabas. Barnabas. Now, I think of Barnabas, that name in the Bible. He was an encourager. He would encourage the early believers. So yeah, I would say if the 12th man had a name, it would be Barnabas. But I'm thinking of another name, E. King Gill. E. King Gill. Now, he was a very good basketball player, and he played for the University of Texas A&M. But he also then, and it wasn't uncommon, played football. Now, on the football team, he was mainly in the practice squad. But in 1922, Texas A&M was going to a bowl game in Dallas, Texas. And E. King, he then went to that game as a student. And in fact, he kind of snuck himself in, walking in with the football players. You see, even though they had to travel to that bowl game in Dallas, Texas, there was a big student turnout. The passion that the student had for their players was very much uncommon. You see, back then, they didn't have a winning record. But E. King was in the stands. And then later he went on down to the sidelines and was able to do that because he knew the other athletes being on that practice squad. Well, in 1922, they had the rule that if you did not have 11 players to play, maybe because of injury or whatever it might be, you had to forfeit the game. And getting down to the fourth quarter, indeed, Texas A&M had players that were hurt and could not come back in, and they were getting down very close that they might have to forfeit. E. King went into the locker room, and one of the players that was getting medical attention, he took that player's uniform, put the uniform on, and went out in the sidelines and said, "Coach, I am here for you. If you need me, put me in." That started the tradition of the phrase, the 12th man. Now, E. King Gill did not play that particular game, but he was ready. He was standing there behind his team. Later, Texas A&M in 1980, a coach by the name of Jackie Sorrell. He took over the team. And Jackie, in take over the team, he noticed a couple things. Number one, the passion. The passion that the students had for that football team, whether they were winning or losing. But there was no connect between the passion of the university and the scholar football players themselves. Jackie was decided then, from then on, he was going to do something about that. And so what he did is he went to then the students themselves, okay? And at their pep rally, have you been to pep rallies? Do you remember your pep rallies? Well, at this pep rally, you see Texas A&M. The M stood for the military. There were some military cadets that was almost on the level of West Point, that learning to be officers in the military. And those military cadets, they took the responsibility of the pep rally. And they started to build a bonfire. Now, when I think of a bonfire, I think of maybe a fire that's going to be, maybe no higher than me. Believe me, I'm not a very tall person. Okay? But Texas A&M, these military students, they took over the bonfire and they used logs. They brought in trucks to bring in these logs, and the logs were stacked one upon the other, on end upon end upon end, and they were over 3 stories high. And they started that bonfire. Well, Jackie saw the passion and excitement that the students had just with the pep rally, that he got to thinking, what Coach Jackie did is he developed a group of gentlemen that were not scholarship players at all. These were walk-ons. And he had tryouts. In fact, no experience required. These walk-ons came on to try out for the Texas A&M football team. This would be a special squad. And this squad would be only responsible for when they would be kicking the ball to the other team. They would be on defense and hold then that person receiving the football to very few yards. Because Jackie realized that this was a tough and rowdy group of students. And these students took it to heart that, hey, maybe the last time they played football was in high school. And yet here was a chance that they could be playing for the University of Texas A&M. Thousands of people. The average attendance of students at the games were 38,000 spectators, and those were just students themselves. So the passion was there. That first year, that defensive team that just was a squad of just walk-ons, that was only responsible for the kickoffs and the kickoff returns, their average, they held that other team to 13 yards. 12th man. So when you hear of the phrase 12th man, think of it in a broader sense of that of encouragement. And there are traditions all over. Example, right here, number 20, a black jersey. This is a black jersey from the University of Nebraska. Nebraska has their defensive group. They call them, you got it, the black shirts. They take pride in being the black shirts. What can you think of some traditions within different organizations that you belong to? Are you a 12th man? Are you a Barnabas? Are you an encourager? Are you looking at different ways that you have the opportunity to encourage others? And do it with the passion of the 12th man in Texas A&M. So, like I said, go forth and enjoy that brighter summer day, because you know what? We are on the same team. We're all that 12th man, because we're in this together. And I'm rooting for you. You know that I am. And don't forget this. Blessed are they who ease the pain of misfortune, for they shall be called insurance agents. Take care.